everyone. I'm Pratyusha. I'm a senior program manager with the Microsoft Edge extensions team. Today I'm here to walk you through the developer submission and registration process for the new Microsoft Edge extension store. Now, as you know, Microsoft launched a new browser this January, which is the Chromium-based Microsoft Edge. And along with it, we also launched a Microsoft Edge add-ons website to support the extensions ecosystem for the new browser. And today, I'm going to walk you through the process of submitting extensions to the new ecosystem. So I'm going to walk you through the developer registration and the submission experience to start with. Now, for those of you who are used to the legacy Microsoft Edge, you might be aware of the processes that Microsoft has for submission. This session will introduce you to the new processes that we have and also compare it with the legacy Microsoft Edge processes. Now, the agenda for today will be focused on the processes of registration and submission. I will also give a very quick sneak peek into the differences between the Chromium APIs and the new Microsoft Edge APIs. And also for those of you, again, who are used to the legacy Microsoft Edge processes, a quick difference between the old processes versus the new processes. Also, a quick walkthrough onto the feature roadmap and any important resources that we have to make the process easier. With that said, let's go ahead into the actual registration process. Okay, for you to be able to submit an extension to the Edge add-ons program, the only requirement is to ensure that you're registering for the program. I'll give you a quick demo onto the registration process to show how simple that is going to be. So I'm going to walk you through the developer registration flow on the Partner Center dashboard right now. So this is the URL that you need to log into to register for the new add-ons program. Do keep in mind that you're using a Microsoft account, that is either an Outlook.com or a Live.com account to register into the add-ons program. We do not support work-based accounts at the moment. If you do not have a Microsoft account, you can always go to accounts.microsoft.com and create one. I'm using my personal account here to register into the program. Once you've logged in, this is the landing page that you will be taken to. It's just a one-page registration form. Now, in the interest of time, I don't want to walk you through each and every field on the registration form, but I will highlight a couple of interesting fields. Once you've chosen the country that you belong to, you have to choose the account type. It's either an individual account type or a company account type. Wisely choose this account type based on whether you're representing the extension all for yourself or you're representing a company. If you are choosing a company-based account type, there is a following vetting process that goes on. And hence, it is important to ensure that you're choosing a company account only when you're truly representing a company. If you want to know more about the vetting process or the account types, you can always click on the Learn More link there. The most important field of this entire registration page is your publisher display name. This is the name that will be used across all your extensions deployed onto the add-ons website, and hence ensure that you're choosing this name wisely. Once you provided the name, we also need your contact information. Your address, phone number, and your email address. Email address is the most important field of all. Ensure that you're giving an email address which you're monitoring continuously, because all communications from here, from Microsoft here on, including your review details, will be sent to this email address. And it always helps to have a work address here for a smooth vetting process. Once you've provided your email address, there's another section called Company Approver. Again, this is to ensure that your vetting process is smooth. This is the email ID of the person who would approve and tell Microsoft that you represent this company. It could be either a superior in the company, and if you are the founder of the company, it could be your own email address as well. Now, individual account is very similar to the company account, but the only difference is you do not go through a vetting process and there is no company approver. But again, the most important field here is your email address. Please ensure that you're providing a right email address. Once you're done filling this form, all you have to do is to accept to the terms and conditions of the developer agreement provided by Microsoft. Please ensure that you're reading through the agreement properly before you click on accept. And that's it, you're done. Once you click on finish, you will be taken to the developer dashboard to start submitting your extensions. There are a couple of points that I want to highlight here, that there's absolutely no registration fees to register for this program. And I would encourage all of you guys to register into the program and to play around to see how easy the process is going to be. A couple of other points that I want you to keep in mind when you're registering for this program is to ensure that you're using a Microsoft account. By Microsoft account, I mean either an Outlook account or a Live account. AD-based work accounts are not supported at this moment, though we're definitely exploring the options. Another important thing to keep in mind is to ensure that you're choosing your account type wisely, individual versus a company. If you are a company, ensure that you're choosing an organization type. When you're an organization, we have a vetting process in place to ensure that you represent that organization, and this might take a week's time. While this will take a week's time, you can definitely spend this time creating and playing around with the extension submission process, though you will be gated to do the actual submission until you succeed in the vetting process. So that is all about the registration process. So once you've done with the registration, you can proceed into the submission process. For extension submission process, the only prerequisite is to ensure that you're registered into the program. If you're somebody who already has a Partner Center account, then ensure that you're registering into this particular program before you can submit the extensions. If you're new to the Partner Center, then please ensure that you're registering to be able to submit. A quick sneak peek into the actual submission process. So I'm going to walk you through the submission process right now. Once you've registered, you can log into the Partner Center dashboard to be able to submit your extension to the Microsoft Store. Now, again, ensure that you're using the Microsoft account that you have registered with to be able to log into the developer dashboard here. This is the developer dashboard that you will be taken to once you sign in to Partner Center using the same Microsoft account. As you can see, you have a Microsoft Edge logo at the left nav. On the left nav, ensure that you're able to see this overview page on the left nav to make sure that you are registered into this account or into this program. If you do not see this on your left nav, please write to us at developersupport@microsoft.com. Now, I have already submitted the extensions to the store. In the interest of time, again, I do not want to submit a new extension, but I will walk you through the extension that I've already submitted to give you a good input of how the form looks like and what is the data that you need to keep at hand. Now, this is how the overview page looks like. We have 4 different sections here. One is to submit your packages, others are availability, properties, and store listings. I'm going to quickly walk you through these 4 sections to kind of give you an end-to-end view of how the submission flow looks like. Now, among these packages is one of the most important sections. This is where you submit the actual package to the store. This is how the page looks like. You can drag and drop your package, and the package is validated instantly here. If there are any errors, it will be displayed right here, and you will have to fix the package before being able to move ahead. Once you're done uploading the package, please click on next, and you will be taken to the other sections here. The next important section that you have to keep in mind is the visibility. Now, there are 2 different types of visibilities that you can choose, which is either public or hidden. Make it public only if you want to make this available on the store to the entire end users or the audience. But if you want to keep it hidden and limited to only a few set of audiences, choose it as hidden and ensure that you are sharing the store URL with those limited set of audience so that they can access the extension discreetly without having to search on the store. Also remember that you can always choose the visibility in further updates of the extension. Now, once you've chosen the visibility, coming to markets. So markets is basically the regions in which your extension will be available. You can choose as many regions as you want, but ensure, and it's your responsibility to ensure that you're adhering to all the regional laws of those markets when you're choosing to publish an extension there. Microsoft is not liable to verify those regional laws. So once you've declared your markets and chosen your availability, we can move forward to the properties section. In the properties section, you will be asked to choose a category. Now, category is basically either developer tools or productivity. We have a bunch of categories. You can always choose the one which is most suitable to your extension type. Choosing the right category is helpful because users tend to go to those categories on the website to search for the extension that they are looking for. Other very important section is your support details. Now, ensure that you are definitely providing your support details here because it's the way for it's one of the ways for the end users to reach out to you with any issues about the extension. And it is a known thing that if you provide a website, it is a very trustworthy extension, and hence please do ensure that you're providing a website and your support contact detail. The next important section is your age rating or the mature content section. Now, based on the kind of extension that you are submitting, we leave it to the developer to mark it as mature or not. Microsoft is not liable to ensure that the content is correct, but this is to ensure that none of the end users, innocent end users, are downloading an extension that they are not supposed to. It's the responsibility of the developer to ensure that you're choosing the right content or mature rating for your extension. If you have any questions on how to choose this extension, please go to the documentation at developer.microsoft.com. And please ensure that you are saving your drafts in between to make sure that your work is not lost. Once you're done choosing properties, the next important section is your store listing. Now, these are the details that will actually appear to the users on your storefront, and hence ensure that you have this handy beforehand, and if you're filling the right and relevant details here. Now, I have only localized my package in English, and hence I can see only one language here. But this will display a list of languages which are available in your package. And it is necessary that you fill all the mandatory fields of all the languages to be able to proceed forward. We are working on improving the usability of the screen to be able to copy the media details from one section to one language to the other, but that is yet to come. If you want to change the display name, for example, you will have to do that in your package itself that is picked from the package directly, including all the localizations for all the languages that you've chosen. You cannot modify the display name from the screen directly here. The other important things are to ensure that you have all the media files ready. For example, the store logo and the promotional tiles have certain specifications which we require to proceed further. So ensure that you have all the media files in the specifications listed here. Now, some of these details are not visible on the storefront as of today. For example, your YouTube URL or the screenshots. We are working on the new design on our store to ensure that these details are visible. We also take some additional information like the short description from the package directly. So if you want to change any of these, please ensure that you're modifying it on the package. Another important thing that you should provide here is the search terms. Search terms ensure that the users are able to find what they're looking for on the storefront. Make sure that you're choosing all relevant search terms to your extension so that the discoverability of the extension improves. There's a quick limit on the search terms. You cannot provide more than 7 search terms, and it has a 40-character limit. And also ensure that you're not providing irrelevant search terms. Okay, so once that is done, Please make sure that there is a green tick across all the sections that you have filled. This is to ensure that none of the mandatory fields are left out. Once you've done that, you can save the draft or come back later, or you can directly go ahead and publish. Once you publish, on the extension overview page, you will see that your extension is in review. Now, since my extension is already on the store, you can see that it is the extension is on store, but you will see that it is in review. And you will be able to see the URL and other important IDs here. Whenever you're reaching out to Microsoft with any query, please ensure that you're sharing your store ID and CRX ID so that it's easy for us to refer back to your submission. Also, please use this URL to share it to your audience if you're making this as a hidden extension. Once your extension goes through the review process and is published onto the store, you can also see an unpublished button here, which will ensure that you can pull back the extension if that is the case. And you can also create a new draft to start publishing your updates. For any other questions on the submission flow, you will have the Learn More links at different places to ensure that you have all the right documentation available. If you actually have all the details handy, the entire submission process is not going to take or should not take more than 20 to 30 minutes. But I want to give you a quick list into what is it that you should keep handy. A very well-tested package will definitely ensure that your entire submission process is smooth. Microsoft also tests the packages for all compatibility across all platforms, and hence I would urge you guys to ensure that you're testing the package thoroughly across all compatible platforms. Also, please ensure that you're deciding beforehand whether you should make it public versus hidden to limited audience only. That will also ensure that your decision-making process is pretty smooth. And keep a list of regions handy where you want the extension to be published. Also, the media that you want to appear in the listing, which could be store logos and any videos that you have. We have a public documentation where we have the list and specifications of all the media that is required. It will be really, really helpful to go through that list and ensure that you have them handy to make sure that your submission process is pretty smooth. Once you've registered the program, which has no registration fee, like I said, there's no upper limit to submitting these extensions. You can submit as many extensions as you want or can, as long as they're adhering to our stored policies correctly. If you have any other questions on the submission process, please feel free to write to us in the email ID mentioned here. It's extensiondevelopersupport@microsoft.com, and we'll be happy to help you out at any time. Okay, that's about the developer registration and the submission process. Now you've developed. Now once you've registered and submitted the extension to the store, there's obviously a review process that kicks in to ensure that your extension is good enough and well tested to be published onto the Microsoft Edge add-ons website. Now, we do have a list of policies that you have to adhere to. I again urge you to go to docs.microsoft.com to read through the policies and ensure that you're adhering to these policies. The review process, the official SLA for this review process is 7 business days, but if your extension is simple and if you're making sure that you're adhering to all the policies, it should typically be done in a day. For a smooth review process, though, there are a few points that I want to highlight. We at Microsoft want to ensure that the end users are getting the best value out of your extension, and hence we think it is important to have a good value prop for your extension and ensure that you're describing this value prop properly in the description so that the reviewers are aware of what to look for and what to test. Another important thing that I want everyone to keep in mind is permissions. Now, ensure that you're asking as narrow permissions as possible. Broader permissions will increase the scrutiny of the review team, and hence, it will make the entire review process much harder. And also seeking broader permissions without the right justification might always result in a failure. And hence it's important to ensure that you're asking for the right permissions. And whenever you're asking for a broad permission or a more powerful permission, it will help to describe in the notes to certification section as to why these permissions are necessary for the functionality of your extension. The next important thing is to have a privacy policy handy. If your extension is accessing any user data, which could be private to the user, we always necessarily ask for a privacy policy, and hence it will be helpful to have a privacy policy handy. If you do not have a privacy policy, and if you're accessing any of the user data, you will definitely the extension will definitely not go through the review process. Last but not the least, we want to ensure that you are adhering to all the right coding practices. We do not want you to obfuscate the code when you're submitting the extension to Microsoft, to ensure that the reviewers are able to do a proper code review. Any form of obfuscated code will not go through the review process. Now, while these are the 5 important points that I've listed here, I again encourage you to ensure that you're reading through the entire store policies and you're adhering to it to ensure that your review process is smooth and simple. And if there's anything specific about your extension that you want to communicate to the reviewers, I urge you to use the notes to certification section. This is the best way to communicate to the reviewers about your intent and any special requirements that your extension might have during the review process. When it comes to updates, the update review could be much smoother and simpler if you also use your notes to certification field to describe the exact updates that you've made to the current version. This will ensure that the reviewers know what to look for, and hence the process will be pretty smooth. Once your submission is done and the extension is present on the store, Microsoft does a post-publish audit of your extensions in different intervals to ensure that your extension is sticking to the store policies. If we realize, or if Microsoft finds out that there's a violation of store policies, then it's possible that your extension might go through another scrutiny or an appropriate action would be taken. If you think that the action is not appropriate, or if you have any appeals against the extension post-publish process, then please feel free to write to us at reportapp@microsoft.com. Again, we'll be happy to answer all your questions there. Okay, so this is all about your registration, submission, and the review process. The next topic on the agenda is now to compare between the legacy Microsoft Edge versus the new Edge that we have. Before I go into the difference in processes, really, I want to quickly go into very basic stuff with respect to the development of extensions itself between the two. The new Microsoft Edge is compatible with and the corresponding extensions obviously are compatible with all platforms. By all platforms, I mean Windows and Mac here, as against the legacy Microsoft Edge, which was compatible only with Windows. Coming to native messaging, which obviously is the most important topic for extensions developers, native messaging is very similar to your Chrome or Chromium extensions, and it by using your message passing APIs. You do not need to create any Sentinel apps for native messaging in the new Microsoft Edge, and hence you do not need any Windows machines to develop Edge extensions anymore. Another important difference that I wanted to highlight between the legacy Edge process and the new process is that there is no restriction on the usage of any third-party payment APIs. You are allowed to integrate with any third-party payment APIs. Now, for those of you who are used to using MSP APIs, though, we do not support integration with MSP APIs for the new Microsoft Edge at the moment, though we are working on it and it might come up in the future. Right now, you will have to integrate with any third-party payment APIs. All right, so that is about the differences between the legacy Edge and the new Edge. Now, I also want to give a quick introduction to what does it take to port your Chromium extensions to the new Chromium-based Edge extensions. Chromium extensions will work and can be submitted to Microsoft Edge, the new Microsoft Edge store with minimal or no changes at all. However, there are a few APIs which are not supported by the new Microsoft Edge compared to Chromium. I have listed a couple here, but again, I will encourage you to go through developer.microsoft.com and the documentation to make sure that you're not using any of the unsupported APIs. The couple of important APIs that I've listed here is the JCM and the Google Accounts API. These are not supported by the new Microsoft Chromium-based Edge right now. And if you are using these APIs in your Chromium-based extensions, then you will have to modify and change them before you submit it to the store. Okay. That is about the difference between the legacy and the new Edge, and what do you do to port your Chromium extensions to the new Chromium-based Edge. The process is pretty simple, and I encourage all of you to try it out and submit your extensions actively to the new Edge add-on store. Okay, moving on, like I said, I wanted to give a quick sneak peek into the feature roadmap that we have for the developer dashboard as well as our add-ons website. So we have started off with the developer dashboard in this January, like I said, and we have a ton of features lined up to come out in the future. One of the most important thing that I wanted to highlight here is definitely the user management. Like I said, group management is not available on the developer dashboard right now. If you register with an MSA ID, you should use the same ID to manage your extensions. Though this will not be the case going forward. We are planning to add the capability to add or the group management aspect of the user management is going to come soon. And we are also working on the ability to register and manage with work accounts, not just your personal accounts. Okay, and from an extensions management point of view, the immediate thing that is coming out is the usability improvements that we are doing in the existing UX to ensure that your submission process is much smoother and simpler. And we are coming up with other features such as developers analytics dashboard and gradual rollout of updates and such. So if there's any feature that you think is not there on the developer dashboard, please look at the feature roadmap. It is coming soon. And if there's anything else that you think should be present here, please feel free to write to us at extensiondevelopersupport@microsoft.com, and we'll definitely be happy to evaluate and incorporate that into the roadmap. That is about the developer dashboard. Moving on to our Microsoft Edge add-ons website itself, which hosts your extensions for the end users to access them. Now, this is the new Microsoft Edge add-ons website, the new look that has been launched into Canary now. You can always download Canary and take a look at the new website. It has different collections like editors pick, trending, and get started to kind of show a good collection of extensions to the end users. We are also coming up with options to promote your extensions and also support for paid extensions. We urge you to go through the website and provide any feedback to extentionsdevelopersupport@microsoft.com. And here are a few resources that will be helpful. Please go to docs.microsoft.com and refer and search for additional documentation on registration and submission.